Hello, 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 guys. Welcome to the Stay Out of IRS Jail Challenge. If you guys can hear me okay, could you guys give me a thumbs up in the chat? All right, I want to see some thumbs up in the chat just to make sure that that you guys can hear me okay. All right, I saw some thumbs up. Thank you so much, guys, for confirming. So again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mackie, and I'm very excited to be here with you. I'll be kicking things off with some important house rules to ensure we all have a smooth and valuable experience in this challenge. But before that, if you are watching live, please comment hashtag Team Live in the comment section, or if you are watching the replay, please comment Team Replay. All right? All right, cool. First things first, make sure you are officially registered for this challenge. If you have not completed your registration yet, now is the time. Some of you might ask, why do I need to register in this challenge considering that it's for free? Well, guys, we are doing giveaways, $100 Amazon gift certificate, and the link will be shared in the chat room. You will receive a secret code once you have completed the steps. If you post more videos and information about this challenge, you will gain more entries. The person with the most entries will be our winner. And guess what, guys? We're not done yet with the giveaways because we will also be picking up our second winner randomly from all the entries. So make sure you submit your entry form so you will get a chance to win $100 Amazon gift certificate. And aside from the giveaways, of course, it's very important to be officially registered so you will also be receiving all the important updates and resources throughout the session. For those who want to maximize their learning and gain extra perks, we highly encourage you guys to upgrade to VIP. VIP members get exclusive access to Q&A sessions immediately right after the training session, where you can ask your specific questions and get personalized guidance. You will also be getting a small business bookkeeping tracker to help you organize and track your finances seamlessly. You will also be getting a challenge workbook with daily action steps to ensure you implement what you learn, a business financial plan template to create a simple, actionable financial roadmap for your business, and of course, a lifetime access to replays. If you want to level up your knowledge and get personalized guidance, this is for you. To stay connected in the loop and never miss out on valuable insights, make sure to follow us on YouTube and Facebook at We Are By The Books and at I Am Rio Joiner. Again, at We Are By The Books and at I Am Rio Joiner. We will be sharing bonus tips, replays, and expert advice to help you navigate your tax and bookkeeping journey. So please hit that subscribe button on YouTube and like and follow us on Facebook. This challenge is for gig workers, small business owners, freelancers, and anyone who needs help with their books. If you know somebody who could benefit from this training, from this challenge, please do invite them to join us. It's for free. All right? And let's help more people take control of their finances and stay IRS compliant. The more, the merrier, right? So now that we're all set up, let's dive into the challenge and learn how to stay out of IRS jail. Who's excited? Please drop a fire emoji in the chat. Woohoo! Come on, guys. All right. All right, cool. And of course, before we dive into the challenge, let me introduce you the powerhouse behind Stay Out of IRS Jail Challenge. A woman who has dedicated her career to helping entrepreneurs, freelancers, and small business owners stay IRS compliant and financially empowered. She's not just any accountant. She's a tax specialist, a business coach, and a financial strategist with 27 years of experience guiding businesses towards success. She's also an author, sharing her expertise to help people like you, like me, like us, take control of our finances with confidence. And if that's not impressive enough, guys, she does all this while being an amazing mother. Ladies and gentlemen, Without further ado, get ready to learn from one of the best in the industry. Let's give a huge virtual round of applause and drop some fire in the chat for our incredible mentor, Ria Joyner. Woohoo!
Hello, guys. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Mackie, for that introduction. I know you souped it up a little bit for me. I'll give you some extra money on your paycheck this pay period. All right. So I need to put these on now since I wear glasses now. So bear with me. Now, let's dive into this content because we have a lot to go over today. And I want to get you guys ready for what we're going to be doing this week. I'm excited, and I know, like Mackie is talking about, we have so many things planned and packed into this week. I'm really excited to get your feedback and to see how you feel about where we're going. All right, so let's get started. So imagine waking up in the morning and finding a letter from the IRS sitting in your mailbox. Your heart races, right? Your palms start to sweat. What did you do wrong? For many small business owners, this is a very real fear, like a daily fear. It's mainly because they don't understand how to properly manage their books. And so today, all of that changes for you. Welcome to day one of the IRS Stay Out of Jail IRS Jail Challenge. I am Ria Joyner, and I'll be your guide as we break down the essentials of bookkeeping so you can protect your business, keep more of your hard-earned money, and never stress about the IRS again. This is the first time we've done this at By the Books Accounting. So, like I said, I'm really excited. My team is really excited to share some of our best financial insights with you. So let's dive on into the content. Keep in mind, I talk a little bit fast and I talk a lot. So if I get the rambling, just like put in the chat, let me know I'm rambling so we'll know what to do to shut me up, right? All right, so let's get into the content. So today we're starting strong with why bookkeeping is the foundation of your business's financial success. You will learn what bookkeeping actually is and why it's so important for small businesses. We'll also talk about the financial nightmares that business owners go through when they don't do the books. Like, you can't just ignore them, okay? That's not an option. And we will touch on how getting this right sets you up for long-term success. Not only success, but saving tax money. And that is essentially those two things. Making money and saving tax money are the most important things. So we want to dive into all of that. Why do business owners avoid bookkeeping? Why do we avoid keeping the receipts, recording it? One of the biggest struggles that they have is that they neglect the bookkeeping until tax season, right? Tax season comes, you show up with all your bank statements and whatever it is that you've kept over the year, whether it's receipts or invoices, canceled check, which those are considered source documents for the IRS. You've ignored it altogether, but the truth is, like, the IRS doesn't care if you forgot to track your income and expenses. They're going to come after you anyway. So if you don't have a system in place, you're setting yourself up for penalties, stress, and most importantly, missing opportunities, financial opportunities. So when we talk about like the consequences of bad bookkeeping, we talk about the penalties and fines all the time. We always talk about those, and they can be avoided by filing on time, by reporting everything. Like, you do not have to pay IRS penalties. Also, one of the consequences is like overpaying in taxes and not identifying everything that you can use to deduct. And I've said this often, like some of you on here have heard me say this directly to you. The IRS is not going to call you and say, hey, you left some expenses off and we owe you money back, and send you a check, right? They're going to send you a bill saying, hey, where's our money? We want everything that you reported on that tax return that you owe to us. So it's up to you to keep track of everything so that you don't overpay. It's up to you to know what's going on. And that's what we're here for today. And finally, not keeping track of your income when you're a small business can add to not being able to have enough cash to pay bills. So struggling with the cash in the account because you're not paying attention to what's coming in and going out. You could be missing opportunities to expand, to grow, to do market, to do a lot of things that could be more beneficial for your company than paying that money over to the IRS. Our goal today is for you to start seeing bookkeeping as your secret weapon for success, not just as an IRS requirement. Now, what is bookkeeping? Bookkeeping is the process of tracking and organizing all your financial transactions so that you know where your money is going and coming from. This is important. I want you to keep this in mind. For those of you that are in VIP, as Mackie mentioned earlier, you have your notebook. Make sure you're taking notes on all of this, because we will be building on all of the content that we're talking about from day to day. So make sure you're taking notes and keeping track of what we are discussing here. All right. Why is bookkeeping important? As I mentioned earlier, it helps you to stay IRS compliant and to avoid penalties that are not necessary for you to pay. It helps you to maximize your tax deductions so that you can save money. I don't know about you guys, but putting a little bit of extra money in my pocket is always a nice thing, right? So maximizing the deductions is super important. And it allows you to make better business decisions, because if you know what's going on in your business, you're better able to decide on price increases, whether or not you can, reduce some expenses to increase your profit, things like that. And then if you're having a profit, to pay estimated taxes if you need to. And vice versa. If you know you're having a loss, you don't need to pay estimated taxes. As a matter of fact, if you're having a loss, we might expect to increase your refund if you have any W-2 income on the side. And you notice how I said the W-2 income is on the side. The main income is from your business. And that's where we're trying to get you by making better financial decisions. I had a client named Beth who thought she was making a profit, but after reviewing their books, she realized she was spending way, way, way too much money on unnecessary expenses. Once she started tracking her finances properly, we were able to find thousands of dollars in savings. And so bookkeeping is super powerful for that reason. It helps you identify holes or gaps in your business where you need to plug them up and, save money, save taxes, and all those different options. Real quick, I want to back up. Mackie mentioned earlier about making sure that you guys register, I think, do the giveaway entry form so that you can earn points for our giveaways. One of the ways that you can earn points is by entering a secret code. And so I am going to give you your first secret code of the week. And that secret code today is present day one. So that's PRESENT day, DAY, and the number 1. Go to the entry form, select secret code, and key in that code, and you will get you some extra points. All right, let's get back to work. When we think about bookkeeping, we want to think about it like keeping a financial journal for your business. Every dollar in and out needs a place to go. And so that's what we're going to be focusing on a lot this week. Where does it go? Why does it go there? And why is that important? So we'll get to the key components of bookkeeping. And the first one being income tracking. So recording all of your money for the business, all of the money that you bring in as for services, products, if you're a nonprofit, from donations, all of those items need to be tracked and categorized accordingly. And then you go to expenses. Now with the expenses, you're keeping a record of where the money is spent. And as I mentioned earlier, the IRS looks at canceled checks, paid invoices, or receipts as source documents. Those are the main source documents. If in the event, for some reason, those are not readily available for everything, you can use your bank statement or credit card statement as a backup. That is not a source document. And what I mean by that is if you have a receipt for expenditures at Walmart, let's not say a receipt. You have a credit card charge a statement with a credit card charge, or a bank statement with a bank charge, and it's for Walmart for $100. There's no way for us to know whether those items were business related. So in the event that there's an audit, there is a possibility that an auditor may not give 100% for that item because they don't know if you bought groceries or if you bought office supplies. Whereas if you have a receipt for that purchase, it shows specifically what you purchased. So the receipts, canceled checks, and paid invoices are the best form of documentation for expense tracking. And we'll talk about that more later. So let me stop rambling. All right, bank reconciliations include matching your books with your bank statements. In that situation, you may find missing transactions like interest charges, or it could be anything, bank fees that you're being charged that you would not have an invoice statement or anything for other than the bank statement. So when you reconcile the bank statement, you would make sure that you capture any transactions that were overlooked. And then finally, your financial reports. So your profit and loss, which is commonly called the P&L or income statement, your balance sheet and the cash flow statement or statement of cash flows. Now, we will get into all of these, what they mean, and how you use them. And now we're going to get into our first action steps of the week. We are going to decide today on what type of bookkeeping system that you want to use. You have systems and let's start on the low end. You have paper systems like a Dome small business bookkeeping book. It is like a notebook, and you find it at the office supply store. When we get further in the week, I will share a copy. But those books you keep by hand. So you would have to manually total up transactions and calculations, and therefore it's a lot more work involved than if you were to use, say, the next option, which would be like a spreadsheet. Now, for those of you that have upgraded, you will have received our small business bookkeeping tracker. That is a Google Doc, similar to an Excel spreadsheet, but that ours is already pre-created for you to input your expenses and income, and it will help you create your financial statements. So you don't have to manually total it up, but you do have to manually enter everything, meaning you'll be entering the date of the transaction. Let's see. The date of the transaction, the vendor, the description, and the amount, right? So you'll have to manually enter that, but it will total up your total of the expenses for that month. It'll total up your categories, and it will help you create your financial statements. And then the final option would be some type of computer system like a QuickBooks or Xero or one of those. There's so many of them out there. QuickBooks kind of has the market on lock for small business owners, and everybody integrates with QuickBooks. So if you have if you're selling stuff on TikTok or on one of those eBay or Amazon, all of those different types of places, they have integrations where your information from your sales will download directly into your QuickBooks. So there's no manual entry. And then also with QuickBooks, you have the option of connecting your bank account, and the bank transactions will manually download as well. Now, in the chat, I want you guys to let me know, any of you have any experience with any of the options I just mentioned? Drop it in the chat real quick so we can see what people have been using. Now, the downside of QuickBooks is that it costs. You have to pay either an annual subscription or a monthly subscription. And it can get a little bit costly. I usually recommend the Essentials version of QuickBooks, which is one of the base versions for small business owners. And that runs, I want to say around $50 or $60 a month, something like that. And I might be thinking about the the Plus. So there's Essential, Plus, and Advanced. Most business owners, Essentials is a great option, gives you access. Oh, and I also didn't mention the QuickBooks, all versions of QuickBooks have a mileage tracker. So you can set it up, and when you're driving, it will automatically track your trips, and you can swipe one way if it's business, swipe the other way if it's personal. So it gives you the ability to do that without having to keep all of those notes and everything. Now, the self-employed version of QuickBooks is the absolute cheapest. I don't normally recommend that particular version because you cannot upgrade from it to any of the other versions of QuickBooks. If you use self-employed and your business does grow as we want it to, you will have to close that account and open an Essentials account and start over with the Essentials. You wouldn't be able to transfer or migrate the information that's already in self-employed up to the Essentials. Whereas with the Essentials, if you upgrade to Plus or Advanced, you would just upgrade and keep the same information that you currently have, and it'll have all of your historical data. So these are some of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're trying to decide on what software to use, because there are a lot of options out there. Now, if you are in the VIP after this, if you have questions about any of it, you can throw them in the chat. If we have time at the end of this meeting, this session, I will try to answer as many questions as I can. And then whatever I can't answer here, we will answer in the VIP section. All right. Next, we're going to identify income and expense categories so that you can start tracking your money today. And so we will be talking about all of this. So when you're looking at your income, we're looking, like I said, if you're a service business, you might have it categorized by the different services that you offer. Like, for example, for us, we offer tax services, we offer bookkeeping services, we offer coaching services. So you do have options in how you separate your income. Now, if you have services and you just want to lump them all under services, that's fine too. But in the event in the future that you want to identify which one of your services are making the most money, you would have to go back and separate or recalculate. So it's always best to start with those things in mind from the beginning. Okay. For nonprofits, you might have donations, you might have income or money that comes in from sponsorships. So there are different categories there as well. And products, obviously, that's probably the easiest to categorize. You sell t-shirts, you have t-shirt income. You sell shoes, you have shoes income. You have income from candles or whatever it is that you're selling, you want to set up your categories so you know where the money is coming from. So I want you to think about those today and work on those so that we can discuss them tomorrow. Okay. So the small step that we're taking right now will make a huge difference as we move forward in the challenge. So please, please, please make sure when we have action items that you set aside a few minutes to do them. Feel free to do them while we're in here, while you have support from us and you're able to ask questions, and you can drop them in the chat. All right. Now, I want to jump real quick because we do want to be able to take questions at the end. I wanted to jump in and just kind of say a couple of things about the VIP Backstage Pass upgrade. So with that, you get that extra hour of Q&A live training. We will be bringing people on stage if you have something you're trying to work through that's more than just one question. So you can come on stage with me and we can talk through whatever the issue is that you're having. Or if you just have questions, regular questions, whatever, you can put them in the chat here. And again, we will try to get to as many of them as we can before we get off. Now, the other part of the Backstage Pass upgrade includes some of the little items that you get. So we have the small business bookkeeping tracker, as I mentioned earlier, that you can use as a starting tool for keeping your books. Unless you are someone that does not like using computers, at that point, I would suggest you use this Dome small business bookkeeping book. And those you can get at any office supply store, like an Office Depot, Staples, anything like that. And they probably sell them online. And the challenge workbook will be provided as well. It gives you some extra information and extra space to be able to keep notes from the event and use those notes as you're moving forward in your bookkeeping journey. And finally, we have the business financial plan template. Now, this is for those. I don't suggest doing a business plan. I'm not saying that you have to do a business plan if you're a gig worker or if you are a contractor and receive a 1099. At that point, you just really need to keep your income and expenses. You're not trying to build something that you're growing into $1 million business one day, right? In terms of that, what you're doing at that moment. Now, if you decide you want to turn your gig work into you want to grow it, get more clients, do more events, however you want to do it, you may want to do a business plan. But for those business owners that are interested and that want to do a business plan, this is a great template to help. It walks you through the steps of doing a business plan with easy to use templates that you can fill in and brand with your company information and use it as a roadmap for your business. Business plans are extremely valuable for that purpose, okay, for being a roadmap for your business, guiding you and helping you to grow. And then finally, you have lifetime access to all of the recordings and everything that we have done in here. So it's valued at over $500 with what you're receiving in that package, and we're offering it for $79. So if you're interested, it's not too late to upgrade. You can go to www.stayoutofIRSjailVIPupgrade.com, and that will guide you through the process. If you're watching this in replay, like I said, you're welcome to send questions over. You can leave comments in the chat, and we will make sure to respond to everything that we see. All right. Now, before we get to the questions, I want to ask each one of you to commit to the challenge. Drop a comment, one word to describe how you feel about where we are right now with your books and the fact that you're in this challenge. Drop a comment in the chat and let us know that. Second, we want you to take action by identifying your bookkeeping system that we're going to be using and the other work that the action items that we discussed. So we definitely want you to commit to doing those things. And believe me, you are really making a big step towards, number one, getting rid of the anxiety and stress of having to deal with tax prep because you have a business and have not been keeping your information, the anxiety and stress of receiving IRS letters and wondering and not really knowing what they're about, what they're for, and being able to handle them. You're taking a big step here. So we're just getting started, and I just want to see you win. So again, drop a comment below in the chat. Just one word to describe how you feel about this, being in this challenge and what you're looking for. And if you're ready for the next level support, grab your VIP backstage pass today so that we can make sure that we give you everything that you need. So at this point, before we run out of time, I want to answer a few questions. I did have one come in directly to me, and I think this one was sent in. I had a client ask about 1099s, about whether or not they had to file them versus W-2s, and what is this? Versus W-2s. They saw on the IRS site that they're supposed to file W-2s. Okay, this is a big conversation amongst contractors, employers, all the time. You are either paid as a W-2 employee or as an independent contractor, right? And this is not an either or you just choose what you want. There are requirements, IRS requirements, whoever governs employees in the, I don't know who it is. If you know who it is, put it in the chat. But there are requirements. You can't just say, okay, you're a contractor. No, if you have, as a business owner, if you or they have control over your time, what you do and how you do it, then you are 9 times out of 10 a W-2 employee. If you pretty much set your own hours, you work when you want to, you work on, you just like basically they let you know what they need done and you get it done on your own, you are an independent contractor, pretty much. Okay. Now it's a little bit more to it, but basically that is what it is. Business owners, a lot of time, you know what, and let's be real about it. Most of us get our business advice from our friends, from YouTube, from people that we've never met, talked to. We don't know what their situation is. And I understand that some people coming to this challenge may feel the same way about me. You don't know me personally. You've never dealt with me. But just to give you a little background, I've been in business 28 years now. I've been working in accounting for over 30, and I invest over $100,000 a year into advancing my credentials, keeping my licenses up to date, staying on top of compliance and IRS issues. So we are dedicated to this. There are people who do taxes on the side. There are people who, how can I say this? There are people that have learned, you know, how to do taxes, but probably around the bare minimum, that are giving advice on how to handle your businesses and these things, and they don't even know how to do that. And so with that in mind, you want to make sure that when you're listening to things that people tell you, that you look at the source. Because I'll just give you an example. I had a client that was with me for years, and she had multiple businesses. one of which was paying some bills. The other two were kind of more like hobbies. They were losing money. And she was talking to someone, and they informed her that the best way to deal with her situation was to start an LLC. So without talking to me, she contacted the State Corporation Commission and set up 3 different LLCs. So she paid the $100 fee to the state for each one of them to set up the LLCs. And then when it came time to do her taxes, because they were partnerships, she had to do separate tax returns for each of those businesses. So now she's doing, I think at the time, and this was 10, 15 years ago, it cost probably about $500 or so for her per business to do the tax return. Can you imagine having a hobby? Can you imagine having a hobby? Not really a hobby, because a hobby is not a business. A hobby is not a tax deduction. In order to be a business, you have to be purposefully trying to make money. It can't just be something you're doing and giving away, right? So you have to be trying to make money. There are rules about that as well. But these were businesses that she was not making a profit on yet. She was losing money every year. So now you have to pay $100 a year fee to keep the LLC active. You have to pay another $500 a year to do a separate tax return in addition to your personal tax return. And this is for each business. And when she found that out, and it wasn't necessary for what she was doing for her to have a LLC at that point. But, if that is something that you want for specific reasons, and we can talk about that in the VIP section or in questions later during the week. But if that is something that, if there's a specific reason that you're upgrading to that, I get that. But just to do it because somebody said, oh, you should have an LLC so you can leave it for your kids. You're going to leave your kids a business that's been losing money? I mean, think about it, right? So, you want to be careful who you're listening to in terms of where you're getting advice from and that kind of thing. But back to the original question. So as a business owner, a lot of times they'll listen to friends, listen to other people. Oh, you should just pay them as contractors. As a business owner, paying someone as a contractor saves you money. You don't have to pay their taxes. And as you grow and start offering benefits, you don't have to give them benefits because they're not employees. Whereas if you bring them on as an employee and you decide to, you have to pay half of their employment taxes, which is half of the Social Security and Medicare. You have to offer benefits if you have benefits in the company for yourself, like insurances, retirement plans, things like that. If you've set those up for yourself in your company, you have to offer them to your employees based on your plan, right? And so a lot of business owners look at the money that they pay for and you have to pay unemployment taxes for employees. And if you have more than 2, you have to offer workers' comp. So there are other costs that come from having an employee. So obviously, as a business owner, first thought is, okay, let me save some money and I will just hire them as a contractor. And people do that and they get away with it until something negative happens. The person gets fired and they try to go apply for unemployment and they can't because they were an independent contractor, or they get hurt at work and they can't file a workers' comp claim because they're not employees. And the lady at the hospital is saying, well, if you work, she's hipping them up on the rules for employees versus 1099 contractors. Now you got somebody's mad and they're reporting you to the people because you didn't hire them as an employee. You got off you put them as a contractor so you could get off the hook for paying their taxes. So, you want to keep these things in mind because you don't want to start your business off on the wrong foot. And also employment payroll taxes are some of the highest penalties out there. So when you pay payroll, you have to pay those you have to pay those payroll taxes when they are due. And usually the payment of the withholding is due to the IRS within 2 weeks or so of you paying the payroll. So you want to keep those things in mind, because, a lot of businesses will fold because they don't do the right thing when it comes to setting up payroll, setting up their employees properly. Now, keep in mind, if you are a 1099 worker and you are being given the option to stay 1099 and you can, for whatever the reason, that is the smarter thing to do, because collecting a paycheck is on the lowest totem pole of wealth. When you collect a paycheck, the IRS gets your tax money before you get a dime. They take it out of your check to pay it to the IRS. So that is the lowest spot on the wealth totem pole. The business owner or a gig worker or 1099 worker, you get to deduct all your expenses before you pay $1 of taxes. Okay. So, and when I say all the expenses, whatever expenses are reasonable and necessary for your business, for your industry, you would get to write all of that off before you pay even $1. So it does put you in a different position than it would if you were on a W-2, period, point blank. Most people like to stay on W-2 because they don't have to worry about dealing with any of the books. They don't have to worry about keeping any of the numbers. They don't have to worry about withholding the money from their pay and sending it over to the IRS as an estimated payment. Somebody else is doing all of that for them. And if that's what you like, great, do it. A lot of my clients have W-2 jobs and they have businesses on the side, right? But just keep in mind that that is not the best way to go about it when you're trying to build wealth, because the government is taxing you before you do anything. And you don't get to write off much of anything unless you are itemizing. Really, itemized deductions include some medical expenses, state taxes, which is state withholding, state real estate tax, state taxes like taxes on your house, and personal property taxes you pay to the state or local governments, right? And then you get to write off mortgage interest, you get to write off charitable contributions and some other expenses, like if you gamble or play lottery or anything like that, you get to write those expenses. You get to write off your lottery, how much you paid for playing the lottery up to the amount of your winnings as an itemized deduction. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you get a standard deduction for not having to pay anything. You get a standard deduction just for being. You get a one for being single. It goes up if you're head of household, which is a single person with a dependent, usually a dependent child, and there's some other requirements. And I'm giving you the base information. There are nuances to everything, right? Next up from head of household would be a married couple or a qualifying widower. So if your itemized deductions do not exceed the amount of your standard deductions, then you wouldn't even itemize. So people will get mad when they're told repeatedly, buy a house, you'll save tax money. That's not always the case. For some people, it doesn't affect their taxes because their mortgage interest is not enough to exceed their standard deduction. So it is a case-by-case basis. And as a business owner, you are able to write off the expenses for your business. Again, those expenses are going to vary. We're going to talk about a lot of them this week, but just to give you some background, a little bit of information. But in terms of that W-2 1099, if you went on the IRS website and you answered the questions and from the answers of your questions, they determined that your people should be W-2, then they're supposed to be W-2. If the questionnaire directed you towards being a 1099 contractor, they can be 1099. Now, finally, and I'm going to try to finish this up because I don't want to run over, but finally, let's say you have paid them as a 1099 contractor the entire year 2024, not knowing that they should have been W-2. To be honest with you, there's nothing you can do at this point for 2024 unless you're willing to pay payroll tax penalties from every pay period that you paid them throughout the year, or at least every quarter. So now you wouldn't pay them per pay period. You would just report those quarters. So you could have tax penalties as far back as the first quarter, which would be April of 24. And it could be almost half between the penalties and interest and everything. It could amount to almost half of the cost of your payroll. And for a lot of people, if they have to go back and do that, it would bankrupt them. So I would suggest getting a little bit more information on your direct case, but I would definitely start paying them payroll from this point if you've already notified the IRS that they should be on payroll. Now, if these questions have been asked of your tax professional before they have been started, then, there might be some ways that you could have handled it differently, but we are where we are at this moment, and it's mitigating damages at this point, just trying to help fix the issue. Now, if you absolutely are required to do payroll, you would have to go back and file the quarterly reports that would need to be filed, as well as the annual reports. The annual report is actually not due until the end of February. However, the quarterly reports were due the 15th day after the end of the quarter. So first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. And the penalties would start from that date. I hope that answers that question. Real quick, before we get to the end of this, just check with my team. Do we have any other questions that I need to address? Or, let's see here. Or, I don't think I see any additional questions. If you have any, drop them in the chat really quickly. Tell me if any of this information has been useful for you today. I would love to get your feedback in the chat about the information that I have shared today. Also, if you know of anyone that has dealt with any major IRS issues, drop something in the chat. Or if you yourself have dealt with them. I want to say in the VIP, in the workbook, there are a couple of activities or reflection questions. Write down 3 ways poor bookkeeping has affected you or someone you know. So this is something you can do and prepare for tomorrow. We can take some volunteers to share tomorrow. And the second reflection question is, list the top 3 bookkeeping challenges you face currently. So you can put it in the chat, or you can put in your notes, and we will take some volunteers to share with us tomorrow. And where is that? They say that. And seeing none, I will go ahead and get ready. Ooh, my timer has gone off. So now I don't even know how to turn this thing off. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to dive into setting up your chart of accounts, which is the foundation of your financial records. So get ready for that. Make sure you've chosen your bookkeeping system and that you've looked at categories for your income and expenses. If you have any questions or need any help after you get out of the sessions, feel free, and let me take myself off the screen so you can see everything. Feel free to reach out to us. The email at the office is info@buythebooksaccounting. And that's the best way to send your questions. And just put in the subject line SOIJIC, which is the acronym, Stay Out of IRS Jail Challenge, and questions. So we'll grab those and be able to answer your questions quickly. Also, I didn't mention this earlier. So with the entries for the giveaway, the entries on the giveaway form, the giveaway entry form, I'm trying to get these words right. You have a lot of different options on there, right? Some of them are one-time actions and you get whatever entries that come with that, but some of them you can do daily. So you can enter the secret code once a day. You can upload a video about, go live or share video about today at the challenge for you and post it, and we will give you 10 points for that. And I think there's 2 ways you can post there, one on YouTube and one on Facebook. And if you complete 5 items each day, you get extra points from doing that. So like Mackie mentioned earlier, we are giving away multiple gifts, but specifically, we are giving away a $100 gift card to the person with the most entries automatically. And then from the rest of the entries, we'll be choosing another person to give away another $100 gift card. Now, keep in mind that we may add some other freebies along the way, or giveaway items along the way. So make sure to click on the link. It is in the chat, as well as it's posted in the chat as well here in the session, as well as on the Facebook group. So you have 2 ways of finding it, and you're able to get to all of that information. So we're going to go ahead and close down for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed the content. If you have, leave us a message in the chat and let us know that you have enjoyed what you've seen. Don't forget to hashtag Team Replay if you're watching this on replay, or Team Live if you're here live. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited about this week, and there will be some hands-on work. So come prepared to work and prepared to learn and grow. All right. Have a great day, guys.